Around 6 months ago, the role contest of 2023 commenced. 315 times at least one role or idea was submitted. We've gone over the role reworks in April, and a few weeks ago in June we've taken a look at the crazy game mode and custom games role ideas. Now that leaves us with the base and advanced roles. Oh, and by the way, if you want to actually play games with these roles, then watch till the end. I'll have an announcement.
Number 10. Operator by Bape Edits.
The Operator is a village-sided role that is an advanced role of the detective, and every night, except for the first one, you check for a specific role instead of a specific player. You will get 2 possible role owners if you check a village-sided role and 3 possible role owners if you check for a non-villager role. If you check for non-villagers twice in a row, you get a timeout for the next night. The plus for this role is that it's quite unique in the sense that nothing else really can check for a specific role as directly as the Operator. But there are a couple of downsides to this strategy side and the balance of this role, which prevents it from getting a higher spot on this list. Checking for solos will of course be the meta, because well, they are the biggest threat to the village, and if there's any evil that tries a fake claim like claims Doctor and the real Doctor also claims, well, that's an easy opportunity for the Operator to use a village check and check for the Doctor, and he will most likely not see the fake one in his results. The Operator has 30 points, and for your reference, the more points the worse, because after the community vote the 4 judges ranked the 10 winning roles, and the rank number is the amount of points that the role gets. But it was not the last one that got 30 points, and that is why we brought in an odd amount of extra judges.
Number 9. Biologist by Oscar and G.
This is yet another detective advanced role, but it checks 3 players and finds out whether there is an even or odd amount of werewolves amongst them. This is actually a really interesting concept and can be played similarly to the detective and spirit seer, namely either check 3 random people and see what happens, or check 2 confirmed good players with an unconfirmed player, and if you get an odd amount of werewolves, aka 1 or 3 werewolves, that should mean your 1 unconfirmed player is a werewolf. Somehow this role is similar to Detective, but also feels very unique too. The downside of this role compared to Detective is that you cannot track solo roles.
Number 8. Glitched Wolf by Andy.
This role heavily suffered from the recent addition of the Confusion Wolf, as 2 of the judges put it all the way down because it would be too similar. The Glitch Wolf can namely select 2 players whose roles will be hidden upon death, as well as that its own role gets hidden too. Players with hidden roles by the Glitched Wolf can still be revived for your info, including the Glitched Wolf himself. Yes, as you can see, the Glitched Wolf is similar to the Confusion Wolf, but a major difference is that the Glitched Wolf himself will be hidden too, that it guarantees some results since protection is not an issue unlike Confusion Wolf, and technically speaking the Glitched Wolf could be only revivable werewolf by the medium in this way.
Number 7. Policeman by Mr. Peer.
The Policeman is another detective advanced role, and trust me, this is the last one you get to see today. This one actually originally had its own base role, but we didn't quite like the base role enough to qualify it for the top 20, thus its role tree had to change. The Policeman though checks 2 players and gets 1 of their roles as result. This can be used once again in different ways and almost is a weaker seer that is less consistent. Here though, the Wolf Shaman and Illusionist do affect the role. The best use of this role is probably checking a confirmed good player with an unconfirmed player and hope you see a bad role or a good role you know for sure the confirmed player does not have. This would enable you to frame that unconfirmed player as either that role, that good role, or as that evil role.
Number 6. Makeup Artist by Egg.
Egg. Ah yes, the makeup artist is here. This is a loudmouth advanced role that can select a living player and change their appearance. As soon as you select someone, that player will look like the makeup artist when a wolf seer, blind werewolf, sorcerer or evil detective checks them. As well as that, if the selected player dies, their role will be shown as makeup artist to non-villagers. The clear elephant in the room is that this role looks like / is one of the oversuggested ideas, in the sense of being a
Wolf shaman but then village.
much like,
The wolf shaman that makes werewolves look good.
oh, such an exciting idea. But this role actually is a bit more unique since it foremost evolves around death, and it can give the confirmed village a tool to shed some light on suspects. Simply ask a suspect what the role of the fake makeup artist is and watch their response. If they don't get it right, then you know they are evil for sure.
Number 5. Dresser Wolf by Asriel Dreamer.
Speaking of
Wolf shaman that makes werewolves look good.
we have the Dresser Wolf here in spot 5, and actually it looks like that concept, except that its ability is limited to 2 users only and that it can choose one exact role, which makes this role 69 times better than the basic
Make his aura look good.
werewolf. You can namely dress a teammate as fool, for example, which is sometimes very much more useful than making them look good. For example, when the entire village is already known and the informers are only trying to figure out who the fool is. You can help your teammate by enchanting them as an exact role they claimed, and you name it.
Number 4. Hibernating Werewolf by Huyuwang 2053.
Okay, sorry if I butchered that name. The Hibernating Werewolf is quite a unique role as it is an advanced Guardian Wolf with more options. Once per game you can freeze 3 players, of which at least 1 is a werewolf. These 3 players cannot use any abilities and vote for the next phase, but they are also invulnerable. A lot of people think this role is really strong, and I would say it kinda is, but if you think of it, the village will get info too when you use your ability, since they know one of the frozen players is a werewolf, and if you freeze strong walls to actually block them, then they immediately know that the other player is a werewolf. You could almost say that this role can be played as either Jelly Werewolf or as Nightmare Werewolf, or some fake combination between them. And if you survive for long enough, your freezing ability can be a game changer. The bonus judges ranked the Hibernating Werewolf over the Dresser Wolf, but they suggested it needs nerfs, and honestly I totally agree.
Number 3. Scout Werewolf by Aldo 1040.
The Scout Werewolf is an advanced Shadow Wolf and actually is way more like the Berserk than the Shadow Wolf itself. Twice per game, you can select a player at night and scout that player. Scouting means that you get to know who protected the player that night during the next day, as well as that these players will be role-blocked next night. This role is actually like a Berserk, but then with less risk and less reward, since you get 2 weaker versions of the Frenzy. Most of the judges had this role really high actually, and this is absolutely one of the most balanced roles we had in the entire contest. It won't be quite as satisfying as Berserk, but you can still access important roles, and game reading is ever so important, as well as that you can gain additional information and force the protectors to take risks. This role is really lonely though in scores, almost like a castaway, as we drop down to just 7 points, and that is actually for the number 1 and 2. Yes, we have a tie for first place, and bonus judges Green Parrot, Counterclockwise and Mickey had the final say here.
Number 2. The Southern Bell by Metomium.
The Southern Bell is a really cool role still that can generate extra votes and is a mix between the old Ghost Lady concept in the sense of being able to reveal your role, the Mayor and the Loudmouth, but it belongs to the Mayor role tree. Every night you can reveal your role to another player, and when you die, everyone you revealed your role to will get double vote for the next 2 voting phases. If your role gets revealed however by something like the Vigilante, Pacifist, Loudmouth or even Wolf Pacifist, yeah, can you imagine that role actually gets a use? Then the effect will be taken away. So in this way you constantly try to balance how well known you are. Also you gotta watch out for not revealing yourself to werewolves accidentally, otherwise you might give them the upper hand when you took your spot in the graveyard. Yeah, this role has so much to it. It is undoubtedly the most creative role in the entire tournament, and actually there were some comments about the creativity of this role even. But then we have our
Number 1. The Journalist by Darius Brawl.
The journalist is an advanced role of the priest that can once per game select 2 players in the discussion phase. If these players share the same team, then the village gets to know this info when the voting phase starts and the journalist will die. If the players are on different teams, then the journalist survives and those players become the only votable players for that day. This is such a good mechanic and this role is perfectly balanced with the priest. We think that Darius did a phenomenal job with this role, especially given the context that the priest is one of the few roles that has no proper advanced role. Yes, the judge and marksman are good roles too. I even really like the marksman a lot, but they do not really have the crowd control function that the priest has. That ability that you can quickly use to clear up an info storm, for example. Along with the voting roles, I would say the priest is up there with a lack of proper replacements, and this would actually be the best one I've ever seen. In case you are interested, here's an overview of how we ranked the 20 roles before the community vote, aka the YouTube shorts and TikToks. The top 10 roles were, so to speak, seeded and faced the opposite in the table. The community votes had 2 major surprises for us, namely that the Glitch Wolf would beat the Farmer, which was one of my personal favorites and also for Snake actually. And the other surprise was that the Biologist beat the Dentist, a very nice role in our books that probably had too many downsides for you to like it, but it was really creative and actually very unique. After the voting from you, we reviewed the top 10 winning roles again, and yeah, we ranked them as discussed earlier. And now one thing remains. Hypo. How do we play with these hypothetical roles? Well, listen up. Darius Brawl started a Discord server to simulate games of Wolvesville with these roles. The server we play the simulation in is called Werewolf Riot and anyone can join. Link is in the description and pinned comment. But be quick as there are limited spots for the games, because yeah, it remains somewhat Wolvesville-like, so 16 players. The process will be explained in the server itself and I will also be part of it either as player or most likely as helper. So if you want to test out these roles yourself, make sure to join and experience the unlimited potential of fan-made roles. If you enjoyed this video, then I'm sure you will also love this one right here. So go click on it and tell them you came from this video. You can also subscribe and turn on the bell to never miss any new Wolvesville video anymore. Trust me, they only get better. I will then see you later and don't be a traitor. Goodbye.